G'day superstars, this is Peps and I'm here for the round 15 lace out review into a massive, awesome, spectacular round of AFL football. If you haven't heard these dulcet tones before, I am the host of Lace Out. I'm Christopher Pepper, the 377 game superstar of the East Villa Football Club and host of the number one, I'll say it again, number one non-club affiliated podcast this side of the Westgate Bridge. It's going to be an absolute corker of an episode. We're going to get straight into it. We're going to spin some magnets straight away, and we're going to have a look at who are we dragging and who are we giving the votes. But all the usual suspects will be here. The ladder. We'll be definitely going through all the games. We'll definitely be getting into some of the banter from the chat as well. But most importantly, it's going to be a belter of an episode. If you haven't listened to us review, make sure you hit subscribe. But if you have and you love what we do, give us a review, give us a like, tell your friends about it because we appreciate it and you'll appreciate it too. So let's get into spinning some magnets. All right.
Votes.
Right, 3 votes. First one I wanted to give out to is Ben Keys. Love Ben Keys. How good was it that he ripped off Mason Cox's glasses? Reminded me of the old Bruce Dool days. Headband go flying. Could not ask for much more than that. So good on you, Keysy. Second of all, the AFL coming out and stating that Jordan Dawson should have been given a free kick in the last 10 seconds against Collingwood for head-high contact. Look, the AFL, you've stuffed up many, many things about this great game over the last couple of years. Breeding 4 umpires hasn't made much of a difference. You've gone ahead and missed a free kick because they weren't in position. Well, I thought that was why we brought 4 umpires in, so everybody could be in position. But the fact that you come out and said, no, we got it wrong, give you a pat on the back for that, but it doesn't change the outcome of this game, which is really disappointing as well too. Finally, the bye rounds are over. This 4-week stuff has to stop. It's absolute bullshit. Move it to 1 weekend, 2 at the most. Put some rep games in there. Have a mid-season draft, mid-season trading period. Do whatever you need to do, but it's got to get rid of it because it's absolute crock of shit and nobody likes it at all. All right. Time to drag someone. Big Ronnie there.
Haley off, Ellingworth on. Bloody weakest piss.
All righty. First person that I have to drag is the big American Mason Cox. He is an absolute flog. What an absolute flog of a bloke this guy is. He goes and kicks a goal. Now, good on him. He kicked a goal. Great. Can't ask for much more than that. But then what does he do? Then he goes ahead. And then he runs into a young player, played only 11 games or so, starts a bit of look at me. No one likes him. His teammates don't even like him. You saw Petrarca doesn't like him. Nobody likes him. Nobody likes an American. It's like we were taking out his Second Amendment gun rights from him. That's how much of a sook he was. And you know what? He knew that no one could retaliate. So the good old days, someone would have given him a bit of a whack over the back of the scone and self-regulated. You can't do that. And the thing is that if the guy got pushed back on Cox and Cox went over, Cox would have got a free kick. And that is what annoys me more than anything too. So Cox, you're a flog. And once again, flogging Cox is one thing that we all should do. Okay. This was brought up last week. And I'm bringing it up again. The Melbourne Football Club and the shh to the crowd. Could you please not do it anymore? Because when you do it, it is simply jinxed. Now, Mr. Brody Grundy did it back in Adelaide against Port Adelaide when the D's were going all right. We lost. Cozzy Pickett on the weekend gave a bit of a to the crowd. Got us back within a point. We lost. Can you just stop doing it? There's no point. Shh. Do the shh when you're 15 goals up. Please do it then, but not any earlier because it's just going to come back on you. And twice so far this year it has. All right. It's bye-bye to the post-bye wins. So far this year, the record is 2-10 for teams that have played in games after the bye. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're preparing your footy tips for this weekend, which is going to be round 16 of footy, pick all the teams that didn't have a bye this weekend, and you're guaranteed to get 9 winners. Guaranteed. All right. And last but not least, my co-host with the most, Jamie Wallis. What an absolute flog. He's left me hanging. Contacted him to go ahead and join me tonight, getting back on the airwaves after a few weeks breather. And what happened? He's in Bali. So the big fella's in Bali for a couple of weeks, enjoying it with the family. and leaving me with absolutely no one to join me on the cast tonight. So I've got a bit of a tear in my eye about that one, but that's okay. But we'll get past it. But J-Dog, enjoy your time in Bali, mate. But there you go. There's the spin in the magnets. Given the votes, given the dragged as well. All righty. Couple of quick things that we have to roll through before we get into the games itself. First and foremost, the rising star for this weekend. Sydney midfielder Angus Shedrick has earned the AFL Rising Star for round 15 after impressing in the thrashing of West Coast. Sheldrick gathered 29 disposals and kicked 1 goal, 3 in the 171-point trouncing of the Eagles at the SCG on Saturday. The inside midfielder was taken with pick 18 in the 2021 draft and has joined a long list of impressive performances by the young kids at the Swans, and it's the first nominee for the Swans for 2023 as well too. So good on you, big fella. You enjoy your career. We'll get on to Sydney in a moment because they were just absolutely amazing. All right. Journey to the draft. We know we're supporting the great man from the Dandenong Stingrays. Jacob Grant had a quiet game on the weekend, but he's got bigger fish to fry because he'll be suiting up for Vic Country this weekend against WA over in the Wacker. So fingers crossed from everybody on the Lace Out community. We are going to enjoy what you've done. We're going to watch you either on the AFL app or the Clutch app. Watch the game, see him dominate, because if he does, that means that the recruiters and the clubs are going to be going, get onto him as well. So fingers crossed, Jacob. We've got our hands firmly crossed for you to absolutely dominate and stand out to make your journey to the draft a fruitful one as well. All righty. What else can we bring up before we get into it? So the ladder. Had a quick look at the ladder. We did that a little bit earlier, but we're just starting it again because we had some technical difficulties. But the ladder is shaping up to be a bit of a nice one at the moment as well too. Port Adelaide and Collingwood at the top of the food chain, 48 points apiece. Brisbane Lions 2 games behind. I would say those top 3 are locked in. This is the team, my team, being the Melbourne Football Club. I'm a little bit worried about where they are sitting right now. 36 points. There's 3 teams behind them, St Kilda, Essendon, and Western Bulldogs, all about Craigie James, you're a classic. All on 32 points. Adelaide Crows on 28, almost a percentage point in front of the Geelong Cats. Gold Coast Suns on 28 and Fremantle on 28. So it is a bit of a logjam there. So the last 9 rounds of the season are going to make a massive difference to a couple of those teams. And I reckon Geelong and Gold Coast are a massive chance to make it. Fremantle looking okay. Richmond are looking on 26 points. They are surging a little bit as well too. Sydney Swans are there. GWS Giants, Carlton, Hawthorn, not a Melbourne. And we know the Wet Toast Eagles on 4 points and 47.3%. Absolutely putrid. And we'll get onto them in just a moment because that was one of the most impressive things to ever happen. Now, for anybody who was trying to listen to me a little bit earlier, it was that the system that I was recording on had made myself, for whatever reason, go on mute, and I wasn't able to talk. And that was about 17 minutes in before we realised what was going on, because I can actually hear myself. So for those who are thinking, what's going on, why are we a little bit later, where's all the intro and everything? Well, because we had ourselves on mute for 17 minutes. So we're just getting straight back into it as well too. But I would say Western Bulldogs, susceptible to drop out. Potentially the Crows. And I'll tell you what, if Geelong make it in, few people are going to be worried. And if Richmond make it in, more and more people are going to be worried because both those teams are playing some pretty good footy right about now. All right. Coaches' votes. We spoke about this last week and we wanted to bring it up again as well. Coaches' votes, Zach Butters, good old Marge, leading everybody on 76 votes. Nick Dacos picked up a couple on the weekend, is on 72. Petrarca, Christian, Gunn, he picked up a couple as well on 67. Timmy Taranto. Can you believe this guy who wasn't in Kane Cords' 150 best players is potentially Brownlow worthy and is pretty much going to be leading the Brownlow by speculative counts at the moment. Jordan Dawson, I'll get onto him because he has blown my mind how good he is. You've got the Bont on 52. Lockie Neal on 53 as well. Sorry. Noah Anderson, 52. Toby Green, 52. Zach Merritt, 52. Jack Sinclair on 52. So it's the most coveted prize in football, the coaches, because it's nominated by the coaches, they'll pick anybody, forwards, backs, etc. Brownlow is only a midfielders award. So Clayton Oliver's won the last two of these. Tuke Miller tied with him as well too. It's an awesome award. And Marge looking up there with Nicky Dacos, looking not too bad. Not too bad at all. Jamie Wallis all the way from Bali. If you don't play the robbed me right in front of me clip, I'll quit the show. Well, I've got to have the clip first, but we were robbed right in front of me. They absolutely were, J-Dog. Absolutely were. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look at some of these games as well too. By the way, let me know on the chat, what was your highlight of the round so far and what was your low late? Who would you give 3 votes? Who would you drag? All right. Let's get into the games. And we all know it started on the Thursday night. So we had 6 games and we dragged it out over 4 days. Good on you, AFL, you bunch of nuffies. Don't understand why they've done that, but makes absolutely no sense. But, that's the way that they roll. All right, so if we go all the way back to Thursday night, Melbourne versus Geelong, down there, potentially the greatest community centre out there, which is GMHBA Stadium. And for 3 quarters, the D's had this one on toast. They had it on toast. And then I had a chat to Jamie. He said the game was in the bag. I said, you're dreaming. And then what do? They just come out and kick 6 goals in the last quarter when they'd kicked 5 up the 3-quarter time. Melbourne went completely to sleep. If you haven't seen my rant, get on my Facebook page, Christopher Pepper. Check out my rant because it was an absolute showering of Rantsylvania I gave on the D's because I don't rate them. I don't rate them whatsoever. And as a Melbourne supporter, I hate to say that because I had so much confidence going into this game. I actually thought they'd win by 6 goals, to be honest. And they didn't. They screwed the pooch on it. I will say, though, from a Geelong perspective, they lost Cameron early. Gary Rowan took him out. I think it was deliberate. Should have got weeks. But if you have a look who stood up for Geelong without him there, Brad Close, literally probably one of the best on ground. Tanner Bruin, probably one of the best on ground as well. And Tom Stewart does Tom Stewart things. Why doesn't anyone man up on Tom Stewart? Coaches, why? Why? If you see a leak in a pipe, you fix the leak, don't you? You fix it. Otherwise, it leaks and makes more mess, more destruction. If a player is dominating, either don't kick it to him or pick him up. I don't understand why clubs think their team defense works when it obviously isn't, and a bloke like that can just get off the string. Same with Gary Rowan. I can't stand the bloke. I don't think anybody likes Gary Rowan. I don't even think that Geelong people actually like Gary Rowan. He's a redhead, and no excuse to all the redheads out here. You're awesome. Okay. But the thing that freaks me out more than anything is that he only had a casual 16 disposals, but dominated the first half. He did it against Port the week before, or Adelaide the week before, and then he's gone ahead and done it against the D's as well too. So absolutely stunning in what the way that he played. Brad Close was absolutely sensational as well too. Like I said, Petrarca was Melbourne's best. Viney was great until his shoulder played up. But just the lapses in the second half. One team wanted it more. The other one didn't. That team won, which is Geelong. Melbourne could have literally locked in a top 4 spot for that. And they've screwed the pooch. And Geelong, for a team that we said were probably going to miss finals, they're on the cusp again. And you know what can happen if a rampaging Geelong makes finals? It was also some of their kids. Like, just some of the names that were thrown. Like I mentioned Bruin. Smith did his thing on the wing as well. I mentioned Tanner Bruin played his best game for the club, 19 disposals, and he went at 73%. Zach Guthrie even kicked a goal for the first time in goodness knows how long. You know, when Tom Hawkins doesn't really do anything and they still win by so much, geez, that frustrates the shit out of me. So Melbourne's forward line is not clicking at the moment. Unfortunately, Goodwin likes too many people and won't drop them. And we're going to see the same thing time and time again. And against GWS this week, they are going to need to lift. Otherwise, I wouldn't be worried about not even making top four. Making finals could be an absolute travesty if they don't get that far as well. But, all right, Sydney versus Brisbane. We know this happened on the Friday night. This was Spud's game. Look, I don't think the scoreboard did this one justice. It was 24 scoring shots to 16, and Brisbane dominated. Harris Andrews was BOG by the length of the Flemington Straight. Now, before I get into that, Craig Jones has said probably shouldn't have re-signed Pickett. Look, I actually got stuck into Cozzy Pickett about this. I think his output over the last probably 6 weeks has been subpar. Ever since he took out Smith in the first game of the year and he's come back from that, it's almost like he doesn't know what to do. And the instinct side of things is gone out of his game. And I'm really worried about that. I hope it's not being coached out of him as well, because that's the whole reason why we got him to the club. Look, I think he'll snap out of it. Maybe he's just one of those players that's thinking about it too much and just needs to worry about getting the footy. And coaches said, Cozzy, just play Cozzy football. That's what we want to see. So I think there's a multitude of things going on. And when you're not getting any of it, it makes it a bit of a pain in the ass as well too. It doesn't make it easy. So you probably got a little bit right there. You're going to re-sign him. You're just jealous that you didn't get him. But yeah, I'm a little bit. Something needs to. I actually said we might have to drop him until he kicked those 2 goals, and I looked like a bit of a fool. But no, and you're not going to get him for a 4th rounder. We'll take 2 firsts and next year's first. All right, going back to Brisbane and St Kilda. Look, St Kilda have hit the skids. They're not going to make finals this year. They're going to do it 2 years in a row after setting themselves up. I did mention at the start of the year, my only concern with them was that their game style is very, very taxing, and it showed. Brisbane were absolutely elite. Absolutely elite. And Brisbane did what Brisbane had to do. They've got a pretty good record down there at Marvel Stadium. And when they win by 28 points, it was really nice to see. Hipwood kicked 4, and that was the big one to come out of this one as well too, because he's been very undermined over the years. I've said he's a bit of a spud ever since he cut his hair, but it was his best game probably for probably all year outside of the final last year when he dominated against Melbourne as well too. And just when you think the fullback of Harris Andrews has gone completely to sleep, he comes out and probably has a season best game. Virtually held Max King to nothing, and intercepted everything coming his way. St Kilda were well led by Jack Sinclair as well too. But if you have a look at the names, it was, Lockie Neal doing what Lockie Neal does. The Big O dominating in the ruck. He's had 34 hit-outs, even though Rowan Marshall had 30, but dominated around the ground as well. Mind you, his disposal efficiency was 40%, so it wasn't too good, but he was just making himself a nuisance, which is exactly what we wanted to see. So what does this say about Brisbane? They need to lock in a top 2 to win the flag. I can't see them winning the flag outside of playing 2 home finals, and I'd say the same thing about Port Adelaide as well too. So Port, they've got an opportunity now to take it to 12 wins in a row. Collingwood, they're definitely going to be getting a home final, 1 or 2. It doesn't really matter. They're going to be the top 2 teams, so they're going to be playing at the G. Brisbane, look, what they can hope for is winning 1 away or getting the second one at home. Melbourne, look, they'll play anyone where they are. They just lost to Brisbane up there in the blackout game. They just lost to Port Adelaide over in Port as well too, even though they did get smashed for quite a bit of the game and then they've come back. So both games have done that. They don't mind playing away. They've just been played when they've stayed overnight down at Geelong. What an idiot bunch of idiots they were for doing that. Didn't make a difference. So I don't think Melbourne either top 4 or they. My idea is, look, if Melbourne top 4 or they don't make finals. That's the way I look at it, to be honest. There was a question that came through from David Salt. Where do they think they will be? I know there's 9 weeks to go in the season. Still a lot to play out. All right. But Adelaide, St Kilda, I'm very, very, very worried about them. What do you reckon, listeners? They're on the chat right now. Are they going to fall out? Are they going to stay? I don't know. All right. Sydney versus West Coast. Now, was anybody else watching this game and just being literally blown away by what was happening on the screen? I've mentioned many times over the years here on Lace Out how the 186 game, when we got absolutely slaughtered by Geelong down there, never went away from me. And I never thought we'd see a scoreline like that again. But I have never cheered on a team so much to get to 200 points because I've said we'll never see a 100 goal kicker again. I still think that's going to occur. But to see a team kick 200 points in a game, but more importantly, win a game by 171 points, it's the fourth highest winning margin ever. And funny enough, the first two teams to lose by the greatest margins are Melbourne. Once to Fitzroy in 1979 and the second one to the Geelong Football Club in 2011. They just dominated. Now, you know that I like to go into some statistics over the game, but I just need to go through a few things, okay? So let me just put this in perspective. There was only 140 possessions difference between the two teams, all right? Inside 50s, so I can put this in perspective, inside 50s, 77-34. You're thinking, okay, that's a smacking. But out of those 77 entries, Sydney had 50 shots. Explosion. Like that is massive. So for every 1.5 times they went in, they had a score. Absolutely nuts. 31 goals, 19 behinds, 50 scoring shots to 12 over the course of it. They also led the tackles. They also led the hit-outs. They also led the contested marks. They were everything across the board. And it was just, well, there were no bags this weekend. But if you have a look at some of the goals that came through, like you're looking at, in terms of goals kicked, Isaac Heaney had his best game for the year, kicking 5. Joel Amati and Logan McDonald with our buddy Franklin down there kicking 4 each as well too. Hayden McLean had 3. Justin McInerney had 3. And you could go through it again and again and again and again. And it's interesting to look at that. They were just awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I've played in big losses and I've played in big wins. And they're actually boring games to be part of. But as a spectator watching it, geez, that was exciting. Like you were just cheering them on. Chad Warder, like every time when you think that he's just taking a backward step or he's just, plateauing a bit, he was absolutely brilliant on the weekend. 33 disposals, 81% efficiency, 700 metres gained. Just did everything he needed to. 11 inside 50s as well too. So he was getting it, he was moving it, and he was supplying it as well too. So absolutely sensational. And winning 32% of all the inside bounces as well too. So a lot of the stuff coming out of the middle of the ground. Now that we've brought that up, we have to talk about the white elephant, or you could say the blue and yellow eagle in the room. Okay. Fitzroy of 96, they had an excuse. They were bad, but they didn't have any money. They were putrid. You could look at Melbourne early 2011, 2012. That was a bad time. Like that was as bad as I've seen in the AFL era. But at the moment, what West Coast have served up over the last 3 years, I think they've won something like 4 out of their last 40 games. And it's really hard to talk about this because you want to see teams playing well. But when you've got names like Darling, Oscar Allen, we spoke about how much was spent on Tim Kelly. They've also got gaffers in there as well too. Liam Duggan is in there. Bailey Williams is in there. Petrevsky Seaton, Jaden Hunt, Dom Sheed, Elliot Yeo, Tom Barras, Shuey, Petruccelli. We are talking about a team that has quite a number of premiership players running around for them. And I know they've got a lot of kids running around. I get that. But there's a difference between getting beaten and getting absolutely humiliated. And that was humiliation at its finest. In the entire time I watched that game, I saw West Coast kick 1 goal. Now, it was on the news tonight that if they tried to pay out Simpson's contract, because he's contracted for another this year and 2 more years, so at the end of 2025, he's due to go. If they pay him out, they're going to have to pay something like $2.5 million. Then they've got the luxury tax that you have to pay because you've obviously gone over your spending. It is going to be something like a $7 million penalty. I'll say penalty if they get rid of him. And it's getting really... The interesting thing is if there's one club that could afford to do it, it would be West Coast. So what do? Do you sack the coach? Do you sack everybody in terms of the fitness staff? Because I think it's a multitude of things. There's obviously no passion. They don't look fit. They don't look like they give a shit. And these are professional athletes as well too. So it is really hard to watch. But there's even things coming out that that there's even issues with players being upset, former players being upset with the current club with the way that kids are being treated with illnesses, etc. So we're talking about Chris Waterman, the father of Jake Waterman, etc. They say that the strength and conditioning coach has been sacked. I think there's more. The assistants need to go. I think they need to get some external people in to come out and work out what's going on, because this is not a 1-year thing. This is not like when Collingwood were down for a year or Sydney were down for a year or Melbourne were down in 2019 after they made finals. This has been going on for 3 years. They really need to go in and do a forensic analysis of what is going on, because I don't understand, and I do not have a clue how they're going to win another game for the rest of the year. They should not get a priority pick. They should not get any benefits whatsoever. They should be made to work their way out of it like every other club under the sun has had to do as well too. Because there's been clubs in a lot worse position for a lot longer than this mob, and they've got the resources to do it as well too. So West Coast, it was a travesty what you served up on the weekend. Absolute travesty. But good, I think Sydney picked up 13% as well too. So they were absolutely awesome in what they delivered. All right. Fremantle versus Essendon. Now, I picked Essendon to win this one because I don't trust Fremantle. And I don't think many people here did. But gee, didn't they serve it up on the weekend. And there's a guy who we're all pretty familiar with. We know him by the name of Luke Jackson. His last probably 5 weeks of footy have been sensational. And he did it again on the weekend as well too. The thing that blew me away with him is he's had 17 disposals, but his efficiency went at 76. He's also, you've got to take into account, he's kicked 3 goals as well. 3 contested marks to go with it, 5 shots on goal. So he's getting the ball around the field, but he's also making a target. And he's a really good kick at goal as well too. Also, 9 score involvements as well too. A perfect game. And he's played some crackers this year, and it's just another one. So Fremantle have got a ripper. They paid for him big time over to the Ds, and they're getting their money's worth. I thought Michael Walters was sensational, especially early on setting up that game. Some of his marking was the Sonny Walters of old that we hadn't seen for quite a while. So it was good to see him do that again. Michael Frederick, he did his things as well too, as we expect from him. No backflips, but that's totally understandable as well too. Caleb Sarong, the perfect 10 coaches of votes as well too. I've mentioned this guy multiple times over the year as well. He's an absolute gun and an absolute jet. I would say he's the best player over there at Fremantle. I thought Andrew Brayshaw was, but what Sarong has been doing this year, and I'll throw in last year as well too, has been amazing. He had another 32. He gets it. He delivers 12 score involvements. Like he's setting the way. Liam Henry probably had his best career game, I would say, on the wing as well too. And it just goes to show some people just need a bit of an opportunity. And he got that on the weekend. 32 disposals. I don't think he's had over 30 for his entire career. 32 going at 71. Lots of metres gained. Luke Ryan down back, the All-Australian, was sensational. He clicked on with almost 700 metres gained as well, too, 31 disposals. And it felt like everything Essendon were doing would just go into their back line, and they set up beautifully. From an Essendon perspective, the only person who got coaches' votes was Jordan Ridley, and that's typically going to happen when the ball's just going time and time and time again into the 50 as well, too. They won at 52-42 when it comes to the inside 50 side of things. They out-tackled them. They had 28 scoring shots to 22, so they were just a lot more accurate in front of goal than Essendon as well, too. They led the contested possessions. They led the clearances, and it was just a game that Fremantle had to win if they want to stay in touch with the top 8, because let's be honest, they should actually be there. And Essendon do what Essendon do. Just when you think that they're going to win a game, they didn't, and that's kind of frustrating for them. The usual suspects, Merritt, McGrath, Hobbs, Nick Martin, Parrish, Heppel, leading the possession counts across, but it's a matter what they do with them, and I think a lot of people were let down by the way Essendon lost that game. I thought that they would have won it, and didn't they make made a fool out of me too. So, best game, probably one of the best top 5 games of the year, easily happened. Collingwood versus Adelaide. We saw what happened at the end of the game, knock to the head. Was it there? Wasn't there? AFL say it was. I'd say, look, it was Ticky Touchwood. All right. So, Buzz has actually thrown a challenge out there. So, Peps, you don't reckon Saints make finals. Pep, how much are you willing to lose? I'm not willing to bet anything. I'm just an opinion. You think that the Saints will make finals, Buzz? I think that they're susceptible. I don't care how good their run home is. I just think that they are susceptible. Out of you and the Bulldogs are the 2 susceptible teams, I would say, in the final 8. That's all I'm saying. Your percentage is at 107%. That's not really dominating. Adelaide, Geelong have better percentages than you, so you need to just keep winning. If you do that, great. If you don't, you're going to get leapfrogged by teams on similar points. But also, I don't gamble, Buzz. I don't gamble. How about I do this, though? I'll make a shirt and wear it on the first episode of the year saying, I was wrong, Buzz. Peps is a flog if you make finals. All right? I'll do that, but you have to remind me. But a great game. That was about the best game that I didn't get to see the all. I had to get onto the highlights because, family stuff takes over. But it was an absolute cracker. And that last quarter was just back and forth, back and forth. And when Tex took that mark with about 3 minutes ago, I thought they were absolutely home. And, I thought they were home. But Collingwood do what Collingwood do, and you never can count these guys out. They lost the week before, a couple of weeks before, to the D's by an absolute bee's dick of a margin, and now they've won by an absolute bee's dick of a margin. They're the captains of the bee's dick. That's how much they win by, and they do it more often than not as well. But like Adelaide can hang their heads or hold their heads high for what they rolled out as well too. But if you have a look, it's the same. It's the same too. The 2 most dominating players in the league this year. We're talking about Nick Dacos. We're talking about Jordan Dawson, who were just amazing, 37 and 35 disposals between them. And it was just a really even game. Inside 50s, there was only 8 difference, 57 to 49. Contested possessions, 137 to 134. Clearances, 36 to 41. Marks, even. Contested marks, even. Goals, 11 to 12. Tackles, 70 to 64. This was just the most complete back and forth game that we've seen probably since Collingwood played Melbourne. But it was a game that, when you thought Adelaide had it, Collingwood come back. When you think Collingwood have got it, Adelaide came back. And that's what footy is all about. And that's the thing I think we want listeners to realise. That's what makes our game of football awesome. Just to see, Collingwood getting out to over, 36 points in front halfway through the second. To the Crows getting, 13 points in front. And then Collingwood getting back with about 8 minutes to go, and then absolutely awesome. And I think it's one of those games, if you can't watch the whole thing, get on your KO, get on your Foxtel, and just watch the highlights of it. Just to see the brilliance of it. It made so much of a difference having Howe back in there. He's just going to be the massive X factor for them as well too. I've still got them as the premiership favourites. No disrespect to Port Adelaide at the moment. I just think if I put who's best is best, I'm going with Collingwood at the moment from what I've seen. Because when it gets toyed like a toya, they're able to get themselves out of it. Adelaide did their supporters and the AFL community nothing wrong by their standards. They were absolutely awesome in what they delivered. And it was just a shame that one team had to win. That's it. Just one team had to win. A draw would have been perfect for this game. All right. It'll be awesome to see. Awesome to see. So it's going to be an interesting next few rounds to see what happens with that one as well too. But Collingwood, they do what Collingwood do, and Adelaide, geez, I tell you what, they are, if it's not going to be this year, next year, they are looking mighty fine. All right. Last game for the weekend was a bit of an anticlimax. I didn't see the margin getting out this much, especially after Hawthorn kicked the first 3 goals of the game. We're talking about the Gold Coast Suns, 67-point winners over the Hawks. We're talking about a team that had 31 scoring shots to 9. And pretty much halfway through that second quarter, they went berserk. They kicked 5 goals in the third quarter, 5 goals again in the last quarter to just set the game alight. Oh, there's so much to like about Gold Coast, but every time they're a little bit like Fremantle. Just when you think that they're going to take that next step, they lose the unlosable one. And then they go ahead and do this to Hawthorn, who I thought would have given them a massive, massive touch-up. But Gold Coast at home is not as easy as many people have said over the years. Braden Friorini, probably once again, his best game. So it was interesting how many people played this weekend, if not their best game for the year. Braden Friorini definitely goes by that for what he served up on the weekend. So, he had 35, 14 contested possessions, 7 clearances, 7 marks. Didn't kick a goal, and it didn't really matter. Noah Anderson, brilliant as ever. Ben Ainsworth, what could you ask about it? Will Powell, Jared Witts, I told you, he's absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome in what he does as well too. Craigie Jones reckons that the Suns will beat the Collie Wobbles this week. Geez, I wonder what that's going to be, especially if it's at the Gold Coast. Yeah, they're actually looking like it's 56% the Gold Coast are going to win that one. That's pretty good at looking at Squiggle at the moment as well too. Hawthorn, just like I said, they came out they started like a house on fire and went completely backwards as well too. But everything you got to like about what they served up on the weekend, which is the Gold Coast Suns. Malcolm Roses, brilliant, kicking his 3 goals, being king. Once again, that's what he's there for. We'd love him to kick bags, because if he kicks bags, you know what that means, everybody? It means if we hear bags, we get to hear this. Bags, we love it when they kick them. But he doesn't have to kick bags all the time, all right? But as long as they're not going
out of bounds on the full,
that's okay as well too. So he kicked 3. Ben King kicked 3. Lukosius, once again, another 2. Anderson 2. Holman came out with 1 as well too. So there was just multiple goal scorers across for the Gold Coast Suns. And they're setting themselves up. A lot of people in the chat right now are saying that they are a massive chance to play finals because they've got a great run home, and they're also going to do a number on Collingwood this week. Hawthorn, look, this is what we expect from Hawthorn, young crop of kids. I will say, though, I'll give Sam Mitchell a pat on the back because he is doing the right thing. He's playing the kids. He's getting games into them. He's getting as many draft picks as he possibly can. If he doesn't see anybody in their future, he's going to get rid of them, get the picks in, and invest in the draft and build them up, very similar to how Clarkson did it as well too. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There was only 6 games, but that is this week's culmination of the scoreboard for round 15 of AFL. Alrighty. Last thing, 1 week at a time. So let's have a look at the games that we're looking forward to this week. Once again, taking my hat off, I'm really looking forward to Western Bulldogs Fremantle because literally whoever loses that, I think their finals are literally done. Even if the Dogs, if Fremantle, they're out of it. If Doggies win it, Doggies lose it. It's going to be a massive challenge for them to get back. Gold Coast, Collingwood, that is going to be a good one, I must admit. Could Gold Coast do a number on Collingwood up there in the hotness that is Gold Coast? Never know. Essendon, Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide have a great record at the Dome. I think they're a massive chance to take out Essendon. But once again, when you think Essendon are going to win, they don't. This could be one of those games that we spoke about. And could West Coast upset St Kilda? I don't think that's going to happen, but I just said it just to get a reaction out of Buzz, because he'll go absolutely cocoa bananas. And it's at the MCG, so I'll take that back. It isn't at Marvel, it's at the MCG. So very, very good game. So there's about 3 or 4 games that are really going to shape up the season. Even Brisbane and Richmond is going to be a corker this weekend as well too. Hey, everybody joining me on the chat, thank you very much, first of all, for getting me back on tune with the audio issues. So thank you very much for that. And for everybody else who's joining me straight after the chat, listen to this, share it with your friends, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, give us a review. Haven't had a review for a while, so I'd like to see one of you just give us a review, tell everybody how awesome we are. Last thing before we wrap up, if you're a wrestling fan, and you know I am, love my wrestling, AEW versus New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door 2 was on today, pay-per-view. Absolute corker. The Ospreay versus Omega match was an absolute corker. And even if you're not a wrestling fan, watch it just for the athleticism of these guys. It is absolutely amazing. And Rhea Ripley, absolute stunner as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's Peps. That's your round 15 review for a massive round of footy. I will be doing Tipped Out this weekend. I didn't get around to it last week. Just some family things took over. So apologies for that. I will make it up to you this week. And most importantly, as host of Lace Out, the 377-game superstar of the East Keilor Football Club, that's Lace Out, and that's how you want your footy. Hope your team wins. Thank you for joining me. Take care, listeners. Thanks for listening to the latest episode of Lace Out. Head over to iTunes and Spotify to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. And remember, join us every single Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, on our Facebook page with yours truly, Christopher Pepper, and the co-host with the most, Jamie Wallis, giving you your footy how you want it. Lace Out.